Some massive breaking news over the course of the last 24 hours in the Championship as Cardiff City shot the bullet and took out Erol Bulut. He is now no longer the manager of Cardiff City. They have sacked him and we see what happens next. Now, here we have the official statement over on Twitter from Cardiff City. It states Cardiff City Football Club can confirm first team manager Erol Bulut has been relieved of his duties and will leave the club with immediate effect. The board of directors wish to thank Erol for all of his hard work and wish him well for the future. Now, I don't think this is a very shocking revelation. I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised it didn't happen last week after their defeat to Derby County. It's not something which hasn't been expected because they've really underperformed at the start of this season. And in my opinion, they've had a fairly decent group of players and he's just been unable to get the best out of them. Now, we're going to get into all of that within this video. We're going to look through his time at Cardiff City and things like that. We're going to read through the official statement from the club, see who's taken over for the time being. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL League One and Championship content. The League One review and preview for the midweek games will be out later on today, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. Now, let's move forward and let's read what was said from Cardiff City. So they state within that announcement, the Cardiff City confirm first team manager Erol Bulut has been relieved of his duties and will leave the club with immediate effect. They want to thank him. First team coach Nicholas Cardiff will also depart and leaves the club with the best wishes. Further backroom staff confirmation will follow in due course. Omar Riza will take charge of the first team on an interim basis while the club look to recruit a new permanent manager. I think this is now the third manager or fourth manager to leave a club or be sacked over the course of this season. You've obviously got Ryan Lowe who left. You've then got who else has gone? Stephen Schumacher's gone. Obviously at Preston you've been through about three interims as well before you get to Heckingbottom, and now obviously Erol Bulut, so we're on number 3 or 4 here. And I think it's really important when we look into this that it's the right decision. Throughout the course of the summer they were looking at other interested managers, other people who they could get in charge, and this is why over the course of his 58 games in charge, he won 22 matches, drew 6 and lost 30 with a points per match of 1.24. And ultimately, that's just not good enough. And obviously in the Championship, if you're averaging 1.24 points a game, you're only just going to survive realistically. And they've started this season really badly. I think they've scored just once in the league. We'll look at that in just a moment. I think they've scored just once in the league. They don't really look threatening. Realistically, you could give them all of the ball and I don't think they'd be able to find a way to score. Obviously, they scored that goal in the Derby match, but then I always think form goes out the window for a Derby because you've got certain players that will just be up for it because of the type of match it is and the atmosphere and things like that. But I just think, realistically, what happened over the summer was they weren't sure whether they wanted to change manager or stick with him. They decided to stick, gave him a transfer window, and it hasn't worked. Now, for me, in that position, if you're 50-50 on a manager, just move on, because we've seen it happen a few times. If we talk about Stephen Schumacher, it's recently been revealed that Stoke City were looking to move him on during the summer, but they got rejected by a couple of managers, and whether that's the same case here, I'm not entirely sure. Cardiff City fans, let me know down in the comments. But it's a very disappointing way to end your career at a football club. Now, if we look at the stats for the season for them so far, 6 games played, no wins, 1 draw, which was that draw against Swansea in was it 1-1? Yeah, 1-1, where I don't even know, can't even remember who scored, but obviously the goal in the Derby, which picked up their only point of the season, their only goal of the season, and they've lost 5 as well. Only scored once, conceded 13, just 1 point. Obviously, they're not that far away from safety. It's only 4 points, couple of wins. It's really early in this season. Now, we've seen in previous seasons, I think it was Nottingham Forest, were in a similar precarious position after about 7 or 8 games, ended up getting promoted. A lot of people called that a mega turn around. But for me, when Forest changed managers, it was they had plenty of time to flip it around. It wasn't as if they were stuck. I think they were 9 points away from the playoffs, and ultimately, I think Cardiff are only about realistically 12 points away from the playoffs. I don't even think it's that, to be completely honest. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this one develops and who they end up getting in. Obviously, I'm not really sure what's happened with them, if I'm completely honest. I've always seen Cardiff as sort of a stable Championship side, but it seems like over the course of the last 12 to 18 months have just really, really dropped off and gone backwards, really. And it's going to be interesting to see if any of those injured players that they have magically appear fit again, because we know how that can happen at clubs when managers leave and new managers come in, and that's when you realise the problems that maybe were occurring behind the scenes, and that's something which obviously will need to be looked into by the club, but the coaching staff and everything for those that come in, because you obviously don't want your players to be dropping the ball just because they don't like you. So that's something which they're going to have to look into when this new management structure gets in. If it's anything like that at Stoke, or for like Paul Heckingbottom and things like that, then for a lot of these players it'll be a clean slate. They'll get brand new opportunities. I think Steve Bruce at Blackpool in League One has said a similar thing a few times during the press, that everyone's got a clean slate now. I don't know any of them. Clean slate. They have to earn their stripes, and hopefully that's what happens at Cardiff, and hopefully they'll be able to find their way back into form. But obviously it's not looked great for them so far this season, and whoever does take charge of the next host of matches, it's going to be very, very difficult. There's obviously an upcoming fixture versus Hull City this weekend. They then face Millwall at home before heading to Bristol City just before the international break. Now, will they have a new manager in before the international break? I'm not entirely sure. If it was me in charge, before you sack someone, you'd hope to have someone else available to come in. But obviously they've put Omar Riza in charge for the time being. I assume he'll take charge of the game at Hull City, but maybe have someone in for the Millwall or Bristol City game. You can obviously let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, obviously, what's gone on for Cardiff City will probably happen multiple times over the course of the season at other clubs. We've already seen Schumacher go, we've seen Ryan Lowe go, and now Erol Bulut. So it's going to be interesting to see what does happen over the course of the rest of the season. Cardiff City obviously have a difficult run of games coming up, despite Hull not being in the best of form. Neither Millwall really, and obviously Bristol City still finding their way in the division. It's going to be interesting to see how the setup changes, see what does change for Cardiff City after this managerial shift. But before we leave this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like button to help push this video to brand new audiences. Working really hard on the channel to hit 1.3 thousand subscribers, and I really hope you can help me by smashing that subscribe button. But I'll catch you in my next video, which will be coming out later today, the League One preview of the upcoming midweek games and the review of the games over the weekend. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and stay tuned for all of my latest content. Find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.